All right, joined at the dais here by Alabama student athletes Dante Hall, John Petty, and Colin Sexton, as well as head coach Avery Johnson. Before we get to the questions for the student athletes, we'll lead with an opening statement from Coach Johnson.
First of all, we want to congratulate Coach Buzz and Virginia Tech on an outstanding season. Those guys they're terrific on the court and off the court. We really have a lot of respect, not just for their basketball team, but their basketball program in general. He preaches a lot about character and competitive spirit, a lot of the same things we preach about. He's a guy that, I consider a friend. He's been very helpful to me in my transition to college. So I want to just congratulate him and his team. They shot the ball extremely well in the first half from the three-point line. We couldn't guard them from three. We had some breakdowns, but those mistakes were correctable. We did a much better job of defending them from the three-point line in the second half. I'm really proud of our team. This is a new season for us, new opportunity. And the three men, they used to be kids and boys, but the three men that are sitting up here now, they had a lot to contribute to this victory. Some of it showed up on the stat sheet. A lot of it didn't, because our preparation for this game was extremely well, and it was primarily because of their leadership. So proud of our team. Obviously, we're happy that we're advancing. We came here to advance. We didn't come here to just show up. But give Virginia Tech a lot of credit for a hard-fought game, but also I'm really proud of our guys for battling a lot of adversity tonight on the court.
A reminder when we get to the questions here for the student athletes to give your name and affiliation prior to asking your question. With that, questions for the student athletes. Sorry, right over there.
Joseph Goodman with AL.com. This question is for first Colin. It's about 3 minutes left in the game. You came out, called timeout, and you were holding your stomach. Was everything okay there, or what was wrong?
I got hit with a screen. He just knocked the wind out of me, that's all.
Colin, what did you think about John Petty's performance tonight?
Honestly, it was great because in practice we told him every time he get it and he feel like he's open, shoot it. Miss or make, we riding with him regardless. I feel like he's getting in the rhythm right now, and it's hard to take him out of it.
Mark Berman, the Roanoke Times. What helped you guys shoot the ball so well today? And for John and Colin, John, what helped you do so well from three today? And Colin, what helped you kind of get going there in the second half?
Just like Coach said, these coaches prepare us for stuff like this. I mean, they do so many hours of film, and they tell us all the answers to the test. So, I mean, we prepare for these, and we just shot the ball in practice. We got plenty of shots up just to make sure we come into this game ready, and that's what we did.
And then second half, Coach just told me if I got a shot, don't worry about missing, just shoot it and play my game. And also my teammates, like Dante, they just kept uplifting me, and I felt like it was big.
Right down here in the front.
Dante, you take this one.
Doug Lassie, Pittsburgh Tribune Review. Guys, 2006, last time Alabama has advanced in the NCAA tournament. Just what does it mean to you guys to be a part of that, given that I guess you guys were pretty much in grade school the last time that happened?
It means a lot. We knew we had a chance to do something special this year, so we felt like we had to put in the work. We've been putting in the work since summer. So I felt like the work we done put in is finally paying off, and it's going to keep paying off. We just keep working hard and believing in our coaching staff.
Right there.
Yeah.
Colin, this question is for you. Just talk about Petty's, the clutch shooting. We're talking about buzzer beaters, hitting threes that either stemmed their momentum or gave you guys momentum.
I feel like John's three going into the half was big for us, gave us a little bit of momentum. And then also, he's been working on it. He's been working. So when it's time, it's going to show.
Any other questions? Yep, we're good.
All right, thank you. All right, guys, see you. All right, I see you.
Just a reminder, Alabama locker room is open right now. With that, coaches, for questions for Coach Johnson.
Avery, to follow up on what you said before, obviously when you said you did a better job, defending them from three-point range in the second half. So what adjustments did you make to kind of make it a tougher from three for them?
We had some lazy switches in the first half, and they were shooting out of coverage. We didn't come together and do a good job of switching. They were baiting us with their pick and rolls with their five-man, and we adjusted our pick and roll coverage. I don't want to get too much into detail there, but I thought our adjustment on the pick and roll coverage helped us stay in better positioning. And they hit a three there at the end, but if it wasn't for that one, boy, we really did a much better job contesting their three-point shots, but our positioning was better in the second half.
Brian
Batko from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Avery, 10 ties, 10 lead changes throughout that one. I mean, is that about as evenly matched as a first-round NCAA tournament game can be? Yeah,
it probably is, and I just think, especially in our situation, we had 6 fouls in the first 3 minutes of the second half, and we were able to weather that storm. Not many teams that get 6 fouls that fast in the second half are able to hold their opponents off and win. So for a team that's the 4th youngest team in the country, now we got to start talking about there are some signs of maturity. Right now in the last 3 games that Dante Hall has played in, we're undefeated. But also Colin and Petty, Herb Jones with his defense, Galen Smith. A lot of our freshmen now, they're turning the corner a little bit, and they know they got to grow up. This is the perfect time of the season for us, because if they don't do what we ask them to do and respond, they know we're not going to advance.
Right over here.
Coach, obviously, Ben Jobe, was so close to you, and what do you think he would say right now with you being in this position, getting your first NCAA tournament win?
Yeah, my heart was heavy. Thank you for asking that. My heart was heavy for 2 reasons coming into this game today. Obviously, my college coach passed away a year ago, March 10th. But today, a very, very close friend of mine, Tom Benson, the owner of the New Orleans Saints, my hometown team, a team which I have a Super Bowl ring because I was a consultant or honorary ambassador for the team when they won the Super Bowl. He passed away, and he meant so much to the city of New Orleans, the state of Louisiana, and so many people. So we send our condolences out to his wife, Gail, and the Saints organization. And so my heart was heavy for both of those reasons today coming in. I was thinking about my college coach, and I was thinking about Mr. B.
Avery, over here. 3 years ago, you were hired kind of for a night like this. What have you done to kind of change basketball culture at Alabama? And then on top of that, what are your thoughts about playing Villanova on Saturday?
Well, I just think it's all about relationships. When I was hired, the one thing we had to do was let's build relationships with our fan base. So whether that's season ticket holders or students, and we've done that. We've sold out more games in the last 3 years, I think, that Alabama had sold out combined in the 10 or 15 years previous. So our crowds have been incredible. Great partnership with the administration. We had Dr. Bell, our president, here, and obviously Greg Byrne, our AD, and so many people traveled to this game. We had some of our parents, guys, drive 15 hours to get to this game. So I just think because of those relationships, that's why we are where we are today. And then we went out and tried to outwork everybody for recruits. And a lot of these guys that are on our squad tonight, we got in the trenches with them early on, some like Colin Sexton that nobody ever heard of before we even offered him. Oh, Villanova, I mean, what more can you say? Outstanding team, championship pedigree. They got problems at every position. Jay Wright's done an incredible job. He's had one of the best coaching tenures of anybody in the country. They know what they're doing. The great thing about Alabama, though, we feel when we play right, we'll have a chance to beat anybody. We respect all of our opponents. But we'll go back, watch them on video. This will be a long night. I normally only average 2 hours of sleep. I'll maybe sleep 30 minutes and just have a bunch of coffee, but it's a good problem to have.
Right here, Doug.
Coach, you mentioned the guys were boys and now they're men. Just what did they show you specifically down the stretch that really, growth-wise, that really helped them pull this game out tonight?
Well, number one, they're coachable, all right? Maybe early on, you know, the criticism always when you were trying to coach them, maybe they thought it was just negative. Now, the coaching is constructive criticism, and instead of them telling me, you know, Coach, get out of here when I tell them something, now they're saying, thank you, Coach. So they understand I love them all, just like, you know, the one that has my name on the team, who, by the way, A.J. Jr. gave us some quality minutes off the bench today. I know the focus would just be on Petty, and his mom, who's sitting here in the audience, she'll be happy I mentioned Avery Jr.'s name. All right.
Any other questions for Coach? One more back here.
Mark Herman from Newsday in New York. Hey, we talked about Petty, but specifically, a lot of good things happened when the ball was in Collins' hands down the stretch. What does it say about his maturity at this stage of his life?
The main thing is maybe early in the season with the first half and the performance he had in the first half, probably would have been average to below average in the second half. But he's maturing. He's growing into manhood. He's accepted responsibility. He's giving more speeches to our team, which is showing now leadership, and the team is following him. He's a part of our leadership council, and I meet with our leadership council 5 guys every week. So I just think it's all about growth and development, guys. Sometime when these kids come to college and they're 18 years old, they might be 18 going on 16 because this is the most accountable that they've ever had to be in their life. And it's an adjustment. So now they've seemed to have made the adjustment, and they feel like they have a lot of basketball in them, and we have a lot of togetherness and teamwork, and nobody's pointing fingers. We don't complain to officials. We just play ball.
Anything else for Coach?
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, joined on the podium by Virginia Tech student athletes Justin Bibbs and Devin Wilson, as well as head coach Buzz Williams. Start off today with questions for the student athletes, please.
Mark Berman, the Roanoke Times. Guys, obviously Alabama shot the ball pretty well today. What made them so tough to defend, especially obviously Petty made a lot of threes, and Sexton kind of got it going there in the second half?
I thought they got a couple open looks, you know, whether we were slipping or bad communication, but they got a lot of good looks, and down the stretch they hit a couple big shots, and I think that might have probably changed the game a little bit when they were making shots because it makes us kind of have to react to them. So hats off to them. They played really well tonight.
Chris Hoffman, WSET. Devin, not the way you wanted to end it, but what was it like to end it in your hometown, Pittsburgh?
Bad. You never want to take a loss, no matter where you're at in the country. It definitely doesn't feel good, but you know, the body of work that we've accomplished since we've been here, you can kind of hold your head high to that and kind of focus on that. But other than that, it's not the best feeling in the world.
Justin, you guys were really shooting lights out from three-point range in the first half. What kind of defensive adjustments did Alabama do to kind of make the threes harder to fall for you guys in the second half?
I think I thought we started to attack a lot more and try and get to the rim. I think we got 16 fouls in the first 4 or 5 minutes. So we're really trying to make it an impact to really get to the rim and try to get to the foul line, which I thought we did a good job of. So we weren't settling for threes as much as we did in the first half.
Doug Galassi, Pittsburgh Trib. Guys, it looked like you had it cut to 2. They called the foul on Justin. How tough is it to bounce back from a call like that in a situation like this, tight game down the stretch?
You're talking about the charge they called? I thought we did a good job bouncing back. They hit a lot of free throws down the stretch. Obviously, that kind of iced the game for them. So, like I said, hats off to them. They played well. They finished the game off pretty well. They made a bunch of big shots. They had a 3 from Petty, and then I think number 2 hit a sidestep kind of shot at the end too. So they finished the game off well. But from the calls, you can't control that. You just have to kind of play through it.
Aaron McFarling with the Roanoke Times. Justin, you guys had not given up more than 75 points since that Miami loss, that infamous Miami loss. Did the defense feel different tonight? Did the way you guys played, the way you guys defended, feel any different than the way it had down the stretch when you guys had really been doing a good job of holding people down?
Yeah, you can say that. Early on, we was doing a lot of mental mistakes that we could have controlled, penetrating in too deep, got too many layups, and I just credit to them how good on offense they are.
Other questions for the student athletes?
Guys, obviously, I know leaving with another NCAA tournament loss is tough, but can you kind of leave the program with your heads held high, kind of think that you kind of built something pretty good here over the course of your 4 and 5 years here? Do you kind of, obviously tough loss, but do you feel like you kind of leaving the program in pretty good shape, how you helped to build this?
That's something you don't think about right now. Maybe a couple of weeks down the road, you can kind of look back at that, or maybe even years when you kind of come back to see guys that are still here. But as of right now, you're upset that we lost, and that's kind of all that's really on the mindset right now. But I can see where you're coming from with that question, though.
Thank you, gentlemen. Just a reminder, Virginia Tech locker room is open. With that, questions for Coach Williams?
Norm Wood from the Daily Press in Newport News, Virginia. Buzz, you get the technical after Robinson's foul. Really frustrating moment, obviously. Do you feel like that kind of changed the tone down the stretch? And what, do you regret that? Or?
Yeah, I shouldn't have had the towel in my hand. I think that made it look worse. I thought it was a block. John Cal, who I've known forever, was at the game. He told me later that it was a charge. So he said it was the right call.
Right over here.
Chris Coleman from Tech Sideline. After playing much improved defense over the last 10 games or so, did it feel disappointing to maybe go back to your earlier season form tonight defensively, and what was the cause of that?
The principles were the same. I thought too often times our first line of defense on the help side didn't do their job, and now the ball's going downhill to our second line, and we're in rotation too often. And it's such a delicate balance, particularly when they have guys on the weak side that can shoot, right? If the ball's going east and west, you want to hold your gap. But when the ball turns north and south, you got to stop the ball. And so I thought for the most part, when it went north and south in the first half, we handled it pretty well. in the second half, it just turned downhill too much. And I think that our ball screen coverage got a little discombobulated. They were setting one ball screen, sometimes a double ball screen. And we just played out of rotation too much. There's obviously very talented offensively. I thought we played pretty well offensively. Our OER was 1.2, which is the best it's been in a long time. Maybe a little bit too high of a turnover rate for us. I thought we did a good job of creating turnovers, scoring off those turnovers, but it just went north and south too often through the first line of our help.
Right down here.
But Petty 6 for 8 from 3. What made him such a handful out there?
He's so long and can really, really shoot. Obviously, he's a specialist, high-level specialist as a shooter. Just to kind of go on top of what I was just saying, you know, when that ball starts turning downhill, you've got to stop it. And then when we do stop it, it's pitched out to him. And we're, at that moment in time, not necessarily in rotation, but too oftentimes it went through the first line. And now our second line's having to help, and now they're kicking it out to him.
Doug, right here.
Coach, I know Devin said it's too painful to think about, but playing his last game in his hometown. But can you just talk about the contributions he made, especially tonight? He took a couple charges for you. Stuff he does doesn't always show up in the stat sheet, but it seems like he makes big contributions anyway.
Yeah, that's for sure how I would describe Devin, and I agree with Berman. I think Bibbs does a lot that doesn't necessarily show up in the stat sheet, even though he probably shows up in the stat sheet more than Devin. But, you know, this is only my 11th time ending the season as a head coach, and no matter what happens, it's always difficult. And I do agree with what Devin said. It's hard to answer these questions amidst all of the emotion. But the journey that those two guys have been on, I don't know that I'll ever be able to repay them as far as how hard they've worked and how they've represented our program on and off the floor. We'll miss those guys, not just in the stat sheet. We'll miss their character. We'll miss their spirit. We'll miss their work ethic. We'll miss their leadership. I thought it was fitting after all that Devin had been through. Whoever that guy was that asked the questions yesterday that wrote the article on Devin, if you're here, thanks for doing that. He finished in last place as a freshman. He finished in last place as a sophomore. And then to be able to play in the NCAA tournament, in essence, at his home, I think that's really cool.
Buzz, I know you're big on having us wait until the end of the season so you can make a full evaluation on what's, do it incrementally or anything like that. Now that you've got the finished product in front of you, you're at one point late in the season, you're the only team in the country with 4 wins against top 10 RPI teams. You get the winning record on the road for the first time in the ACC play since you guys joined the conference, and yet another early exit from the NCAA tournament. How do you sort of evaluate where you guys are at and this season as a whole?
Yeah, I had Dyer give me a list of all those things, Norm, that you just mentioned. And I read all those things to our kids on Sunday when we practiced before the selection show. Because you go so fast and because it's always on to the next thing, I didn't even know all of those things. I knew the things that you just mentioned, but so thankful for all of those guys, so thankful for their parents, incredibly grateful for our staff. I think there's been multiple times throughout the year, like any team, but I think there's been multiple times that we could have went the other direction. And it's a testament to the fiber of who they are, that every time it started going south, they would turn it back around. And like we've talked about multiple times for those of you that cover us, since the Miami game, the change that's occurred has just been not only changed our team to allow us to be an at-large pick, but I think it's changed our program. And it's hard, Norm, for me at now to kind of separate this season from the entire tenure, and specifically with these two guys sitting next to me because they've been through all of it. But I for sure think we're trending in the right direction, and I would not have anticipated that the first time that I talked to you, whenever that would have been, that over the course of the last 3 years, we would have won 10 games in the ACC. And, you know, upon arrival, I didn't know all of the history. I knew bits and pieces of it, but I think what we're doing and how we're doing it is right. And I think that we got a lot of people inside and outside the program that are pulling in the same direction. And in this day and age, that's really hard. And so I'm very humbled by all of that and very thankful for it.
Last question for Coach right here.
But to follow up on that, you know, you made the big step last year of making the NCAA for the first time since 2007. You make another big step this year, going back-to-back years in the NCAAs for the first time since the 1980s. How hard is that next step of actually winning a game in the NCAAs, especially when you keep getting in these 8-9 games?
Yeah, you're right, Berman. I looked this up yesterday, I think. When they hired us, we were 244. After year one, we were 221. After year two, we were 80. After year three on the seed line, we were 36. And then on the seed line this year, we were 31. And I didn't tell that to our kids because they wouldn't necessarily understand that. But when I did mention that, we were kind of clipping up some stuff we were going to show our guys in the conference room, and the trajectory obviously has been very steep, and then obviously the higher you get, the maneuverability becomes more difficult. And that is the next step that we have to take. As I was just saying to Norm, obviously getting here is incredibly hard, and we're very thankful for that, and we are striving to continue to get better. I think the maneuverability in our league is really difficult too, and obviously I think that's great prep for this. But the higher you go, the altitude changes. It's harder to breathe. And so we need to continue to get reps at that. And I thought tonight was a great game. And just didn't come out on the end we wanted to.
Thank you, Coach.